St. Margaret's Road. It connects the little town of Cape St. Clair on the Broadneck Peninsula down towards downtown Annapolis. It's just an old country road that winds through what used to be farmland, and now it's just some upper middle class houses and still a couple fields left, but it's one of the scenic drives in the Annapolis area, at least. It's pretty historic. Down here, this is the end of Mill Creek, which connects to Whitehall Bay, which dumps into the Severn River in Chesapeake Bay. Wow, the tide's really low today. There's a little bit of ice out there too. It's a cold morning, very windy. But out on that creek is one of the famous crab houses called Cantler's. People can boat there. Every weekend you can expect a big crowd, especially in the summer. People stop there on the way to Ocean City because it's right off Route 50. So here, this is Maryland Route 648, called Baltimore-Annapolis Road, or Boulevard. And it still connects Baltimore to Annapolis, but Route 2 was created to bypass this. And this is just the old road that kind of followed the railroad that came down here from Baltimore. But it's still sort of one of the main roads, at least it leads to the residential areas now. Route 2 is the business road and main highway that goes up the Broadneck Peninsula towards Baltimore. So yeah, that little stretch is one of the fun drives in Annapolis. If you get a car with paddle shifters or, you know, a manual transmission and there's nobody in front of you, you can have some fun going up and down the hills and the curves. Now this is 450, which crosses the Naval Academy Bridge going over the Severn River right now. So the Naval Academy is in front of us to our left. Route 50 is to our right. whitecaps on the river today. Winds going about 25 miles an hour, gusts to 40 or 50. Just to my left is where John McCain is buried. His gravesite is over there, and you can walk up to it. It's just in the middle of all the other normal people. Well, I say normal people. I mean, they were all great people because they're in the Naval Academy Cemetery, but yeah, he didn't get any big special thing. He just wanted to be like everybody else. It's a nice gravesite. Now this is Naval Academy property on both sides. We're going to turn left, keep going on 450 into downtown. Right now is St. John's College. It's a little small school. I think it only has like 750 people or so. But it's cute. It's a nice little campus right in our downtown. Very historic. This is Maryland Avenue, another very historic road. And ahead of us is the Maryland State Capitol. It's the longest continuously used state capitol building since the 1790s, I believe. So there's the state capitol, plain view now. It's really nice property. Walk around there, there's gardens, historic buildings, statues, everything. This is State Circle. Most of these roads have been in about the same place since like the late 1600s, early 1700s. Obviously they've been resurfaced and everything, and most of the buildings have been rebuilt and maintained and stuff, but we have the highest number of buildings on the National Historic Register of any town in the country, right here in downtown Annapolis. So it's a pretty special place to be able to live and grow up. This guy is choosing to walk in the middle of the street instead of on either sidewalk, which makes absolutely no sense to me. the narrowest streets in town. Little one lane, no driveways or anything. Houses right up against the street on both sides. Let's see if we can park here, because it is time to eat breakfast. Oh, they did a good job on the second try. Well done. Here we go. Park right here. So in front of us is the market house. That's been here for many centuries as well, and it's called the market house because it used to be the old slave market. And the ships would come right up the little canal up to the slave market and drop off their slaves, and that's where all those poor souls would be sold off to work the rest of their lives. So I suppose we can continue our little scenic tour of downtown real quick. As I was saying before, this is the market house right in front of us. This is pretty much the main area right in downtown, and these are where all the old shops and pubs and taverns and good seafood restaurants are. Right down here on the waterfront right now, the water in front of us is called Ego Alley. It leads out to Spa Creek, which feeds into the Severn River. And this is Dock Street. Which often gets flooded. Had a lot of sea level rise in the past 20 years, and this gets flooded a couple times a week now, so they had to start rebuilding some of the seawalls and you know, repaving the parking lot just so it's up a little bit higher. But these are all public docks to our right, so people can, you know, pull their boats up here, get a slip for the night, explore downtown. Right in front of us is where the Harbor Queen, which is a big tour boat, usually docks, but since it's the winter, it's tucked away. And the Naval Academy's in front of us now, too. Swoop back around this way, go up Main Street. One of the things I love about downtown Annapolis is that all of these stores are just like locally owned. Very few chain kind of places. There is a local barbecue chain just to my right. It's called Mission Barbecue. They started up in Glen Burnie, and now they have locations in like 15 different states, I think. But we just put a Mission Barbecue into this hardware store. It used to be a hardware store. Downtown Annapolis just has such a lovely local historic vibe, good authentic restaurants and unique places to shop and eat. This is Main Street now. The church in front of us is the Church and Church Circle. A lot of Catholic churches around here. Maryland was started as a Catholic colony. They needed it because they would have been persecuted everywhere else, so Good old colonial times where everyone hated each other. To our left, this orange facade is Chicken Ruth's Deli. It's very famous. Been here for a long time. There was a Man vs. Food episode filmed in there. There's a 6-pound milkshake. Everyone from presidents, world leaders, athletes, Naval Academy, generals, everybody famous is eating in there. Got all the pictures up on the wall. If you ever come to Annapolis, go to Chicken Ruth's. At least just to look inside, if not to eat. To the right is the governor's mansion. I guess I never talked about that when I was going around State Circle. But yeah, that's where Larry Hogan lives. It's been there for a long time too. And it's right across from the state capitol, because it's on State Circle. So I think there's like a system of tunnels so the governor doesn't have to walk outside and get mobbed by people. But yeah, it's right across the street from his work. Very easy commute. There's the Courthouse, and Reynolds Tavern is to my right, and all of these buildings have been here for so long. You take it for granted because, people who walk around here every day, it's just normal, but it's really incredible, the history here. Slow. Speed limit's 25. Up here is St. Mary's Church. This is one of the biggest churches around. Big Catholic. They have a school too. And behind that is the Charles Carroll house. It's where one of the Declaration signers lived. Wait, did he sign? Nah, I can't remember. It's been a long time since I've taken a history class. But yeah, he was an important, prominent figure in the history of Maryland, and his house was right over there on the banks of Spa Creek. And this is the Spa Creek drawbridge right here, so a bunch of sailboats can get through. That's about it. We're getting out of downtown Annapolis now, going over to Eastport, which is the old watermen's community. So, starting in the 1900s and maybe even before that, all the watermen who would fish for oysters, crabs, rockfish, and everything in the Chesapeake Bay would live over here. So it started as a very blue-collar area. I think this guy is parked here. He doesn't have his hazards on, he just has his right signal on. But yeah, this is where the watermen would live. It was kind of a rough area up until like the 60s and 70s, and then it just started getting transformed into like a multi-million-dollar craftsman-style home on the waterfront area. But it's still a nice place to live. And that's about it. That's a little tour of Annapolis. Hope you enjoy. Please come visit. We always love having tourists here. Very hospitable to our guests. And it's a great place to be.